Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about healthy eating. We're going to start out by talking about many common conditions that are related to unhealthy eating. So, we're going to be touching on obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, hypertension, anemia, and vitamin D and bone health. So let's start by talking a little bit about obesity. So obesity is defined as a progressive chronic disease that is characterized by abnormal or excessive fat accumulation, and that impairs health. So obesity is now a global pandemic since its prevalence has increased worldwide in the past 30 years, and specifically in Canada, where obesity has increased by more than 10%. We're going to briefly touch on obesity in children because that is caused by either a sedentary lifestyle or a caloric intake that is greater than needs. So, for example, consuming too much sugary beverages, fast food, diminishing family presence at meals, decreasing physical activity, increasing use of computer and electronic devices. So all of these could be factors that would contribute to childhood obesity. So that was obesity and how it relates to unhealthy eating. Now we're going to talk a little bit about diabetes because it's also related to unhealthy eating. So eating lots of sugars and being overweight and obese can lead to higher insulin resistance in your body, which then leads to diabetes and can cause problems with your nerves and the heart. Moving on to heart disease now and how it relates to unhealthy eating habits. So unhealthy eating can cause hypertension, which is an increase in your blood pressure, and can also cause cardiovascular disease. And so basically you can see all this plaque accumulating in the walls of your blood vessels and blocking the blood vessels, which can lead to problems with your heart. Moving on now to anemia. And so anemia is defined as a low number of red blood cells in your blood. And it can either result from low levels of iron, for example, not getting enough iron from your diet. It can also result from low levels of folate or low levels of vitamin 12, again, in your diet. And it can lead to feeling tired, weak, dizzy, fainting, lightheaded, etc. So the last condition that we're going to talk about, and that is associated with unhealthy eating, is your bone health. So low levels of vitamin D, low levels of calcium in your diet can lead to bad and weak bones. And so this decreased bone density would mean that you could be more prone to fractures and at a higher risk of injury. So we're done with the first part of the presentation, which was about talking about health conditions that are associated with bad eating habits. Now we're going to be talking more about health and society. And as an example, we can say that fast food in our society is known for its large portions, low prices, high sugar content, and is also known to contribute to overeating and weight gains in teens and adults. So the idea would be to choose as part of your diet minimally processed whole foods. So eating lots of whole grains, vegetables, fruits, nuts, proteins such as fish, poultry, beans, and plant oils, and limiting sugary beverages, refined grains, lots of potatoes, red and processed meats, and other highly processed foods such as fast food. So I'm going to leave you with these questions to reflect on. So you can think about the importance of food in meals in your culture and your family. And do you eat meals together as a family daily? Who cooks in your family?
Thank you for introducing the social aspect of eating. Now I will develop more on that. Because eating is a social matter, it is important that your child eat in a family context. The wide benefits include helping him develop his social and language skills, helping strengthen your family bonds, and helping your child model your good eating behavior. For example, eating his fruits and vegetables, eating at an appropriate pace, and not overeating. This is why it is important to avoid distractions at meals to allow children to be more focused on social interactions and on their eating at dinner time. In fact, immigrating and starting a new life in another country can also impact how we eat. It can impact our mood, our ability to access good food, can create barriers to healthy eating patterns, and affect our cultural norms that we may have had in the past. This can be due to the communication challenges with the new language, social isolation in the new country, not having financial security, having pressure to maintain our cultural traditions versus integrating into the new culture. There are several barriers to accessing healthy food. Some of the common barriers include stress, mental health, time limitation, socioeconomic status, as well as healthy food can be very expensive and you can have limited access to traditional and cultural traditional food that you may have been used to. And also you can have challenges in understanding what food are good or recommended in Canada. Those barriers can be complex, but some ways to address them include using your local food bank. They have fresh produce and also they have healthy options, and many people use those food banks, and it can help free up some of your budgets for other things. Also, there are some cooking classes in the community where you can meet others in the community and learn about the different ways to cook healthy meals. So here is a short true or false quiz before proceeding to our nutrition part. Juice is a good beverage to consume during a meal. Allow your child to choose if he or she will eat and how much he or she will eat. So, what constitutes a healthy eating? It is about choosing a variety of fruits and vegetables from different colors, choosing whole grain products such as whole grain bread, whole grain pasta, and brown rice, and including healthier sources of fat in our diet. Those are known as unsaturated fat rather than the saturated fat. Also, make water your drink of choice. Juices and soda have high sugar content, and you can see here in each cube it equals to 1 teaspoon of sugar. So both soda and juice have large amount of added sugar. So instead of drinking the juice, just have the fruit. Another tip is to limit the added salt, sugar, and fat to our food when cooking, and to try to flavor our food with spices and dry or fresh herbs instead. And also, one last tip is to limit the processed food, which I'll explain in later slides. Processed food can be high in added salt, sugar, and fat, and we need to use labels to compare processed food, which I'll also explain in my next slide. How to compare different products. First, we need to look at the nutrition fact table on the product. We start by comparing the serving size. In this product, the serving size was 1 cup. We then look at the calorie and the daily value on the right side. Daily value means how much a nutrient in that defined serving of food contribute to a total from our daily diet. It helps you determine if a food is low or high in a nutrient. If you see a daily value of 5 or less, it means that this product has a low amount of that nutrient. If you see a daily value of 15 or more, it means that this product has a high amount of that nutrient. Try to get more of fiber, potassium, iron, and calcium, and less of the saturated fat, sodium, cholesterol, and sugar. What is processed food? It is a process that your food undergoes where several additives, preservatives, sugar, and salts are added, with many nutrients are lost. This is why it's important to choose the product in its fresh kinds instead of processed. Some of the food processing is important for us to consume the food itself, whereas in others, it's affecting the nutrient quality of the product. For example, you can see here the potatoes has been transformed into fresh fries, the whole chicken has been transformed into chicken nuggets, and the whole grains has been transformed to donuts. If you look at the boxes here, you can see the high content of fat, cholesterol, and sodium of those products. And I hope you can acknowledge how processed food can affect the quality of our diet and our ability to eat healthily. So the only way to prevent that is by looking at the labels to choose the better product or by simply eating unprocessed fresh foods. So here's an example of how your plate should look like according to Health Canada. Your child's plate can be smaller because they have a smaller stomach. The New Canada Food Guide does not emphasize the quantity of each portion of food, but rather give an idea about the proportion of different food groups. You can see here, half your plate should be from fruits and vegetables. Those fruits and vegetables should be varied in color and they can be fresh, canned, or frozen. Protein food should occupy a quarter of your plate, and this can include meats, eggs, dairy, and legumes. And finally, grains, especially whole grain products, should occupy the other quarter of your plate, so whole grain pasta, whole grain bread, and brown rice. Water should be your drink of choice, and in addition, for your child, 2 cups of milk seems adequate to supply their needs of calcium and vitamin D. So here we will discuss about some strategies to promote healthy eating at home. Cooking with your children. Cooking with your children will emphasize their understanding of where their food comes from and can support a better and healthier relationship with food. You can also make them a homemade version of their favorite food. You can make them baked potatoes with spices instead of French fries and make your own pizza at home by adding homemade tomato sauce and lots of vegetables. And if junk food cannot be avoided occasionally, portion the amount served. So instead of serving a whole burger, cut it in half and replace the other half with vegetables, salads, or a homemade meal. Also, instead of serving a whole pizza, you can tweak it by adding fresh vegetables on top of it. And finally, be a good role model. Being a good role model to your children is by eating your vegetables, fruits, and prioritizing healthy, unprocessed food and making meals a social and enjoyable time. So, according to you, what could be another strategy? So here's the correction of our true or false. Juice is not a good beverage to consume during a meal. You can either have water or the fruit instead, and allow your child to choose if he or she will eat and how much he or she will eat, because as a parent, you are responsible for what, when, and where your child will eat, but your child is responsible for how much and whether they will eat your food that you have offered. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have enjoyed this informational session about healthy eating. Thank you.